Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about buying and selling. As you go through life, you have to buy things. It's just the way it is. You need to buy food. You might need to buy a ticket to be able to go on the train or the subway. You might need to buy lunch. Did I say food already? I guess most of my examples will involve food for some reason. But yes, as human beings, we have something called money. And we use that to buy things. So in this English lesson, we'll talk about, I think, 34, maybe 33 English verbs that we use when talking about buying and selling. So once again, welcome to this English lesson about buying and selling. To buy, to get something by giving money for it. This means that you are the person that needs something. If you need to buy something, it means you don't have it. If I'm hungry and I go to Tim Hortons, I can buy a donut. I give money and they give me a donut. It's a great transaction, but sometimes I go to certain places and when I buy something, they ask for a lot of money. And then I'm not happy with the transaction. When I was in Toronto, Jen and I went to a restaurant and it was $11 for a small little breakfast sandwich. So we decided to buy them, but I wasn't happy with the price. So when you buy something, you're the person with money and you give the money so that you get something that you need to buy. To get something by giving money for it. These people look really happy to give their money to buy the things they need. Maybe they have some yummy snacks there. I'm not sure. To sell then is the opposite. To give something to someone and receive money for it. So as many of you know, Jen and I sell flowers in the summer. In the spring, summer, and fall, we grow flowers and we sell those flowers at the farmer's market. That means that we give flowers to people and they give us money. So it's kind of like with buying and selling, there's always two people. There's the buyer and the seller. The buyer gives money and gets something. The seller gives something and gets money. I think you guys understand that, but I wanted to start with the two basic verbs for buying and selling. To purchase, to buy something, that's more formal. So for instance, to buy something, and this is a more formal way of saying it. In fact, you might have someone at your place of work, and their job is to purchase things for the business. So it means to buy, but it's simply more like a business term. Like at my school, I need to purchase textbooks every year for my students. Okay, that's not true. We reuse the same textbooks, but there are things we need to purchase regularly. We need to purchase paper because we use a lot of paper. We need to purchase pencils and pens for the teachers to use. So it's simply a more business-like word to say buy. You could say we need to buy more paper, but at work I would probably say, when's the last time we purchased paper? I think we need to purchase some more paper. So a more business-like, more formal way of saying to buy. To pay, to give someone money for something, or to give someone money for work done. So there's two meanings in here, okay? When I buy a donut, I have to pay for the donut. So when you buy something, you give money and you get something. But if you look at a smaller part of that action, you need to pay. So I guess you pay before you get the item. So to give money for something or to give someone money for work done. The second meaning would be if I work for you, you need to pay me. Okay, so I mean, it's a similar thing. Money is being given, but certainly if you go to a pizza place and you say, I would like a small pepperoni pizza, please, and they say that's $11.99, you then need to pay. You need to give them money, or you need to tap your phone, or you need to tap your bank card, or you might need to insert your bank card. I use the word tap, which someone told me is quite Canadian, but that's how we refer to doing this, like beep, when you do that, to pay for gas, to pay for what you need. To charge. to ask someone to pay a certain amount for something. So let me explain this as best I can. If someone was to call me on the phone and say, hey, I'd like to buy some flowers. I'd like to buy some flowers. I would say, okay, what do you want? I would like 2 bouquets. How much do you charge for that? And I would say, okay, 2 bouquets, that would be $35. So it basically means the amount of money that you need to buy that thing. In town, at the one coffee shop, they charge $2 for a cup of coffee. But at the fancier coffee shop, they charge $7 for a cup of coffee. I won't mention any names, but you might be able to figure it out. That simply means that's how much that item costs, okay? If you fix things, let's say you are a plumber and my toilet is broken. I could say, hey, how much do you charge to install a new toilet? And you would say, we would install a new toilet for $450. I don't need a new toilet, by the way. Our toilet's working fine. To spend, to use your money to buy something. So this is simply a general term for going out in the world and buy. This looks kind of sketchy, doesn't it? I should have picked a better picture. There's like 2 random guys at the park. The one guy's giving cash and he's getting I don't know what I'm sure the guy in the yellow shirt makes homemade dog treats or something. It's something above board. This is not an illegal transaction. Sorry. I do pick my pictures carefully, but this one just cracked me up a little bit. But to spend is a general term to talk about using money to buy things. You know, every day you need to spend money in order to live. You need to pay to heat your home. You need to buy food. You need to spend money. You need to use your money to buy the things that you need. To afford, to have enough money to buy something. I can't afford to buy the $7 cup of coffee, but I can afford the $2 cup of coffee a couple times a month. I don't mind spending $4 to $5 a month to buy something yummy like a cup of coffee. I can afford that. I have enough money to do that. But I can't afford to buy a $7 cup of coffee every day. I don't know who usually is able to afford that, but that is what that means. To afford, to have enough money to buy something. To order, to ask for something to be made, prepared, or delivered. So we have more and more of these things when you go to a fast food restaurant. This is a kiosk where you can order what you need. You can see right there on the screen. I'll make it bigger, but it's going to go off the bottom a bit. You can see it says Tim Hortons order here. So basically when you order, you either say what you want or you punch it into a machine, like 1 donut, 1 cup of coffee, and then you can pay right at the machine as well. But to order, to ask for something to be made, prepared, or delivered. To refund, to give money back to a customer after a return or problem. So let's use the example of selling flowers. If I sell a bouquet of flowers to someone, and if they come back a week later and say, my flowers died, like I went home and the next morning my flowers died. Usually our flowers last 3, 5 days, 7 days, sometimes even 2 weeks. And so in that case, Jen and I might decide to refund that person. We might say, okay, here's a refund, or we might give them a replacement bouquet. But to refund means to give money back to a customer after a return or problem. So if you buy something and you don't like it, like what did I buy from Amazon? I bought a network cable, and then I realized I bought the wrong length. And so I sent it back to Amazon and they refunded me. So they gave me a refund. It's also a noun, but they decided to refund me the money I had paid for it. To return, to take something back to the store after buying it. So most stores have a place like this somewhere. Sometimes it's at the back. Sometimes it just says customer service. And this is where you can return items. Now, you can't always return things. In my part of the world, if you buy a sweatshirt and you take it home and try it on and it doesn't fit, you can return it. So you can return clothing. But if I buy a carrot and I take it home and a week later I decide I don't want it, I can't bring it back, okay? If the carrot didn't taste right or there was something wrong with it, I probably could. But to return means to take something back to the store after buying it. By the way, you don't want to be in this line after Christmas in Canada. This is a very long line. To negotiate, to talk about the price in order to get a better deal. So we had a question about negotiation earlier. When you negotiate, you try to pay less than what the seller wants you to pay. So a good example of this would be if you buy something used. If I go on Facebook Marketplace and I look at a used camera and the person wants $200 for it, I could try to negotiate. I could say, would you take $150 for it? And they might reply and say, no, I really need at least $190. And then I could say, well, what about $185? So I'm negotiating. I've decided to negotiate the price to try and get a better deal. To discount, to lower the price of something. So sometimes people decide to put something on sale. A store will decide to discount whatever's on this table. I can't quite see it. Are they books? I know it's all blurry. They might be handbags, but they've decided to discount them. Now, I will tell you this. Most often we use the verb to put on sale. The store is going to put that on sale, or we just say something is on sale. But if Jen and I had lots of sunflowers one week, we might decide to discount them and sell them for 50% off because we have so many. To resell, this is something that happens a lot in the world. It means to sell something again after buying it. So if I go to the store and buy really expensive shoes, I might decide to resell them at a later time. If I buy tickets to, let's say I buy tickets to go see a Raptors game and then realize I can't actually go on the day the tickets are for, I could resell the tickets. It's actually legal to do that in Ontario, Canada. I could resell the tickets. So it simply means to sell something after buying it. And we have a relatively new verb called to flip. This verb has been around for 10 or 20 years, probably longer, but I'm not sure if you've heard it. It means to sell something after buying it to try and make more money. So some people will flip houses. It doesn't mean that they put the house upside down. It means they buy a house, they fix up a few things, and they very quickly, within a few months, sell it again for more money. What I noticed at Christmas, I was trying to find a plant stand because I wanted to give it as a gift. And I went on Facebook Marketplace. I went on Amazon and I looked at plant stands. And then I went on Facebook Marketplace and saw some of the same plant stands that I saw on Amazon, but for more money. People were trying to flip them. So they were buying them from Amazon and then selling them for more money on Facebook Marketplace. I think they were trying to trick people. But yeah, the two far plant stands with the lights, they were on Amazon for $5 less or $10 less, and they were trying to flip them. So to resell means to sell something again. Doesn't necessarily mean for more or less money, but to flip means you're trying to make more money. Like he bought the house, he fixed up the bathroom and kitchen, and he's going to flip it. He's going to sell it in a few months for more money. To trade, to exchange something for something else instead of using money. So this is, of course, how we all used to do this before money was invented, like 1,000 years ago, or I'm not sure when money was invented. But these two boys are trading playing cards. Not playing cards. They're trading sports cards, probably. Actually, they might be Magic the Gathering cards. I can't tell. But when you trade, it means instead of you giving me money and I give you something and you give me something of equal value. When I was a kid, because I'm Canadian, we had hockey cards. So we would get a pack of hockey cards in the winter every week from our parents. And then my brothers and sisters and I would trade. I would say, hey, will you take this useless Wayne Gretzky rookie card? That didn't happen. By the way, if you have a Wayne Gretzky rookie card, it's probably worth a lot of money. We would trade. At school, we would trade hockey cards. We would say, hey, I have Daryl Sittler. Can I trade it? Can I trade it for this person? And so when you trade, it simply means to exchange things without using money. To invoice means to send a bill asking someone to pay for goods or services. So by the way, goods are things that exist. So you can sell someone a cup. That is a thing, okay? I can also help you learn English. That is a service. And when you invoice someone, it means you send them a piece of paper in the mail, or you send them an email and it says, you owe me this much money. So if I gave you an English lesson, I would then send you an invoice saying, you owe me this amount of money, and you would need to pay the invoice. To bid. There's two meanings to this. So generally, when we talk about to bid, it's to offer a price you are willing to pay for something. This happens quite often at an auction, where there is an auctioneer that says, who will give me $10, $10, $10, who will give me $10, $10, $10, $10 once, who will give me 20, who will give me 20, who will give me $20, who will give me 20, I don't want to be an auctioneer, but it is kind of fun. If you ever want to hear someone speak English really fast, go to an auction. And then eventually the auctioneer says, who will give me 20? I got $20 at the back, $20 going once, going once, going once. When it's sold for $20 to bidder number 7 or 5 in this case. So to bid is the price you are willing to pay for something. But we also use it when you want to do, let's say Jen and I heard about a big wedding coming up and they needed flowers. We could bid to provide the flowers. So it can be the buyer who bids, but also sometimes the seller. So to offer to do a job for a certain amount of money. This is most often used in my part of Canada in the construction industry. If I wanted to build a new house, I would have 2 or 3 companies bid on building the house for me. One would say, I'll build it for this much money, and then I would choose which bid to go with. To quote, to give a price for a product or service. So again, let's say you needed to get your car fixed, but you're not sure how much it's going to cost. The garage might give you a quote. So they might say, hey, it's going to be $241.50 because you need an oil change, a wheel alignment, brake pad replacement, and replacement of spark plugs. It's kind of an odd mix of things. This must just be an example quote. And then you would look at the quote and you might say, hey, can we just hold off doing the spark plugs till next month? Because I can't afford the 40 extra. This is a really cheap car repair, by the way. Just a sec here. Replacing the spark plugs, brake pads on the front, wheel alignment, oil change. Oh, maybe not. But in my world, this would be more like $450 probably, plus the cost of all the parts. So anyways, to quote, to give a price for a product or service. To stock means to keep goods ready to sell in a store or business. So let's say I wanted to buy a large jug of water. I could call the store and say, hey, do you stock 18-liter jugs of water? And they might say, no, we only stock up to 4-liter. We don't have the 18-liter. So to stock is a word that stores would use to talk about what they have readily available to sell. To restock means to add more goods after they have been sold. So if you go to a store and you go to buy a garden hose and you get to the store and the place where the garden hoses are supposed to be is empty, you can say, hey, do you have any garden hoses? And they might say, hey, we have to restock. We'll get more in on Wednesday. So to restock means to add more goods after they have been sold. Trying to think of another example of restock. Like I went to buy Cheerios the other day. It's a breakfast cereal, and they had to restock because it was on sale. So they were all the boxes were sold. To supply means to provide goods to a store or customer. So Jen and I supply flowers to a variety of people who do wedding flowers. What I mean by that is we grow the flowers and we supply them to them. They pay for the flowers. We supply them with flowers. They use them to decorate a wedding. So to supply means to provide goods to a store or customer. I'm trying to think of another example. Like there's a company that supplies food to our school. So they are the ones we regularly buy food for our cafeteria from. To mark up, to raise the selling price of something. So if you buy something for $100 and you mark it up 25% and you sell it for $125, you have made $25 of profit. So this happens quite regularly when, let's say you go to a camera store and you buy a camera for $400. The store, they didn't make the camera. They bought it from DJI, but they didn't pay that much for it. They paid less, and then they decided to mark up the price. So if you were to run a small store and you were going to sell apples, you might buy apples for 50 cents each, and then you might decide to mark up the price of the apple to $1 so that every time you sell one, you make 50 cents. Hopefully all my numbers added up there. To pre-order, to order something before it is available. Sometimes something new is going to come out, but you can't buy it yet. And then you can pre-order it. So I think a good example of this was Starlink Internet in Canada. In my part of Canada, you could pre-order Starlink before it was available, so that when it became available, you could get it. You could pre-order a Cybertruck. I think it looks like on September 17th, you could pre-order this iPhone, which I think is actually an older one. But it means to give money, usually not the full price, but to give some money so that when the item does come out or get released, you are the first one to get it. To settle, to pay the final amount that is owed. So let's say, I'm trying to think of an example here. Let's say I bought a car from my mom, and my mom wanted $5,000, and I gave her $3,000 and said, I'll give you the other $2,000 next week. I'll come to settle with you next week. It means you've paid for part of something and you need to pay the rest of it. If you pre-order a phone, you need to settle with the store before they give you the phone. So if the phone is $1,000 and you paid $200 when you pre-ordered it, you need to settle. You need to pay the remaining amount. We usually say to settle up as well, like to subscribe, to pay regularly, usually monthly, to receive a service or product. I think the most common thing is to subscribe to something like Netflix, or on this stock photo, something called cinema with the word play. So when you subscribe, you pay regularly, usually monthly, to receive a service or product. When I was a kid, my mom decided to subscribe to Popular Science magazine. And so from the age of 7 or 8, that was like my favorite day every month was when the magazine came, because we subscribed to that magazine. To cancel, to stop an order or agreement. So let's say you decided to get Netflix. At some point, you might decide it's too expensive, and then you might cancel Netflix. If you had a magazine subscription, like in the olden days, you can cancel your subscription. So it means to stop an order or agreement. If I order a pizza, and then Jen comes in and says, I have something I'm making for supper, then I could call and try to cancel the pizza. But if they've already started making it at the pizzeria, I probably need to still buy it. If they haven't started making it, I might be able to cancel the order. To redeem, to use a coupon or discount code to pay less for an item. When I was younger, in the newspaper, there would be coupons, and it would say $1 off butter. And we would cut out the coupon and take it to the grocery store and redeem the coupon, which meant to give the coupon to the cashier. In the modern era, it would be a discount code. You might be buying something online and you might have a discount code that says like pay 50% now. And you type that in, you redeem the code, you use the code, and then you pay less for that item. To collect, to receive money that is owed from a customer. If I had an apartment that I owned and I rented it out, I would collect the rent every month. So I might go to the apartment and collect the rent, but more likely I would send an invoice and my tenant would send me the money via e-transfer or another electronic method. But to receive money that is owed from a customer. And this usually means later. Like if I sold you flowers, you would give me money. I wouldn't use this verb. But if I delivered 20 bouquets of flowers and then a week later I went to collect the money, like it does imply that there's some distance between the actual transaction and the final payment. To remit, to send money to another person or business, I only use this verb once a year, actually 4 times a year. We have to remit money to the government for our taxes. So we collect sales tax and we have to remit that sales tax to the government. So I think this is, for me, this is a government business buying and selling verb. We remit money. I think we use this for tuition too at a university. You need to remit your first payment. So it means to send money to another person or business. To ship, to send goods to a customer. I think we're all familiar with these types of trucks. They're different colors in different companies in different parts of the world. But when you ship something, you send that thing to a customer. Jen and I do not ship flowers because flowers would die while we were shipping them, and then people would want to return them and get a refund. So to ship, to send goods to a customer. To fulfill, to prepare and send an order to the customer. So let me explain how I would use this. If Jen said someone's picking up 100 stems of sunflowers today, in order to fulfill that order, we would need to go get the flowers from the field, put the flowers in a pail, trim the leaves off of them, and then give them to the customer. And we would then have fulfilled the order. So when you fulfill an order, it means you do it from start to end. So let's look at a pizza shop. You could say, how many pizzas do they sell in a day? And the owner might say, oh, yesterday we fulfilled 2,486 orders. So basically it means from start to end to do that. To authorize, to give permission for a payment to be made. I'm pretending this is my boss. I'm pretending this is the paperwork needed to purchase something, but he needs to authorize it. He needs to put his signature on it because I do not have the ability to actually order that without authorization. So to authorize means to approve. You know, your manager or your boss might need to authorize that purchase.